the Retail Tech Podcast, where we discuss the ins and outs of implementing and using different technologies used in retail, including online and offline, also known as omnichannel retail. Our goal from this podcast program is to help retailers and managers understand the actual implementation nuances. There are business and marketing pros and cons for all of these technologies. Our focus is to help people better plan on the actual installation and then usage of the technologies afterwards. I'm Darius Basefi with my partner Nathan Kolta. How are you today, Nathan?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much. Today we're going to talk about iBeacons. This is a pretty hot topic, or somewhat of a buzzword in retail in the last couple of years. So have you heard of iBeacons, Nathan?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I have heard of it. I would say that there's a lot of things to discuss about it. I've always wondered, though, what is the difference between beacons and this iBeacon thing? You know, I know Apple has a strong tendency to market lots of things. What is the difference?
iBeacon and beacon are often just used interchangeably. iBeacon is what is for Apple's own proprietary technology standard that allows the mobile apps running iOS or Android devices to listen to signals from these physical beacons in physical locations. So it basically, what this does is that it allows an app that is linked to a company or retailer's back-end systems to understand where that customer is. And that geolocated information is very valuable to be able to communicate with that user, especially when the user is in the retailer's store, one of the stores, or in the proximity of the store.
Now, this is done, I assume, using Bluetooth.
Yeah, so beacons use Bluetooth Low Energy, which is BLE, which is really designed to give a longer lasting battery life, because a beacon, the actual hardware itself, has to be installed in different locations in a store, in a physical location, and it cannot be linked to power. So it has to run on battery. So for that, they had to use the BLE. And right now, most of the beacons that actually are, available commercially can last 1, 2, 3 years on a single charge of a battery.
That's very impressive.
Yeah. So just a little bit more on BLE is that it's like a one-way communication. The beacon that basically has battery, has charged, is just broadcasting its location. It's several pieces of data that can be read or received by the app. And these are getting a little technical here. It's the UUID, which is a unique identifier of that beacon. There's something called the major, which identifies which location the beacon is located in. For example, if it's in a Nordstrom's in a specific shopping center in LA, it tells you that's where this beacon is. And then there's a minor, which says where exactly in the location this beacon is. So this could be in Nordstrom's in Santa Monica and in the men's department, shoes department. And then there is something called TX power, which transmits the distance of the beacon to the actual mobile device that the customer has. So all of these are received by the app, and then based on that, the retailer can communicate whatever pertinent information that they want to the user at that time. So if the person is just passing the shoes department, for example, they can provide information about shoes, new shoes or new models or sales, anything to that effect.
So, as an example, when someone is sending off a signal, what is in that like packet of information?
Right. So that's basically what I just went through is the UUID, the unique identifier, the
I see.
major, the minor, yeah,
And the power.
yes, and the power.
Wow. Wow. Fascinating. Fascinating. So, why is iBeacon such a big deal for retailers and brands and other types of platforms uh, regarding phones or something along those lines?
So the big challenge for retailers, that have a physical location, is to know where their customers are and what is their behavior. So to compare that to e-commerce online, on a website, you can know exactly where the customer is, what they clicked on, what they looked at, how long they were there, what page did they go to, what products did they add to their cart. I mean, all of that information can be measured. Retailers in their physical locations have none of that data. So this
Mm-hmm.
iBeacon provides an entry into that space so that retailers can better understand the behavior of their shoppers and then take advantage of really helping the shopper um, through that process because they have more information. So
I see.
they can personalize messages more based on the history of that shopper and really provide a level of service that's not available right now.
So, like, if I was going to Target, for example, what would happen? What would they do, or what?
So if you had the Target app on your mobile phone and it was on, once
Mhm.
you walked into Target, Target would identify you as somebody that just walked in, and as you, depending on where they have beacons installed, they would be able to say, okay, Nathan is now, or this person is now going to the jewelry department. And based on that, they would communicate. There's two main benefits. One is they can communicate with you with personalized messages about
Mhm.
the products in that range. The other one is that they can use that as a traffic analysis in the store for their own planning.
Mhm.
So that's basically how it would work, and you would get messages on your phone about these different technologies, and then the Target or the whoever the retailer is would give an interface that shows all, basically makes some kind of a meaning from all this data that you're being transmitted to.
Got it. So, uh, I assume that this type of technology is also helpful when it comes to things like maybe making payments or something like that when you're in the store, or
Yeah,
what's.
yeah. So
Hmm.
most beacon software providers, vendors, and even
Hmm.
hardware vendors, they have payment enabled into their apps.
Mm.
So probably using NFC or probably the new Apple Pay program, you are also able to make a payment from the application that is providing. So let's say it's Macy's program, right? Macy's own. In the case of, like, and as an example, on Macy's also is a company that's tested the waters with beacons,
Hmm.
iBeacons, and so in their case, if you have their app, the payment is also included in there. So you can do the shopping. It will also include the beacon and the location information along with the payment.
Mm. Wow, that's very impressive. So, what are some barriers to adopting this type of beacon technology?
So the barriers are really on the usage of the customers. So I mean, it's a great technology, and it can help both sides, the shopper and the seller. But the big challenge is that, first of all, you have to have the app of that retailer installed on your phone.
Hmm.
Um, and then there are several permissions that have to be accepted. So first off, you have to have Bluetooth on your phone. you have to accept what's called the location services on that relevant app, and then you have to opt in to receive the in-store, indoor notifications. So I think, whenever you install any kind of, app, there are some permissions that come up. So that's where it causes some confusion for users.
I see. And I can only imagine it's different depending on whether you're using an Apple product or a Google product or Samsung, or are there, is this like a, I get the sense that there's a war of or new type of new big.
The war is just starting. And it is, so Apple basically has the platform right now, but Google, Samsung, Qualcomm, these companies are all looking into taking their own market share. And then hardware vendors also are getting into the mix. So because Apple doesn't manufacture its own physical beacon, so Apple's provided the platform, the software, and it's left it to hardware vendors to create different types of beacons. So getting into like implementation of and how that works is, in order to get this to in a store, you need to have the actual physical beacon, and then you need to have the actual software that is going to communicate with your app. So
so how many of them would you need then for a store? Where do you install them?
Yeah,
Things
so
like
the beacons are, so typically they come with some kind of adhesive in the back of them, and so that's been a challenge as far as like the adhesive actually lasting as long as the battery on the wall, because the beacon itself can get kind of heavy if it's mounted vertically. So the other challenge is like, how many beacons do you need? And you can say that, for example, if you have a small retail footprint location, you might be able to cover the whole thing with one beacon. But how much data are you going to get in that case?
Got it.
All you're going to get is, okay, somebody's in the store. You don't know exactly where they are. So you want to, the number of beacons is a combination of how big your store is, and then what specific exact information do you want to capture.
I see. And so in terms of like the software they're using, or how do you, is it possible to, do they get upgraded? Do you have to buy them? Do you lease them? Is this something that you have to put in one existing space? And is it like a visual? Is it like an eyesore, or I can only imagine they're hidden.
Well, most of them are. They have to be, because they use Bluetooth. It cannot really go beyond like concrete or walls or even anything. So there has to be a clear line of communication. So you can't really hide them as good as you want. Or you won't get a full reception. Like if you put it inside a cabinet, you might not get full reception. So that's why you want to put it outside. And then there's like different designs that are available from different companies. Most of the hardware companies are going to provide you with a software, which is going to show you all the different things that are actually coming, all the data, and like a present representation, view of the data that, like graphs and things, to help you understand what's happening in your store.
So this is very different than RFID technology, in the sense that, like, RFID, you stick it into like a shirt or a pack of Doritos or something like that. Right.
Yeah. RFID is the same, like similar concept, and is really like the grandfather of this concept, but it is a different technology. So yeah, and like an RFID tag is a lot less expensive. It's a lot smaller, but it's not as smart as a beacon.
Got it. I see.
So,
and I assume you need to have some type of management software to know not only where these beacons are located, but how to determine the difference between a true capture, if you will, or something along those lines, versus maybe someone who's
Right.
passing through and is. So
Yeah.
this is not I get the sense that this is not the silver bullet. This is not going to be something that's going to capture every single phone, every single purchase, and everyone's information. This is got some very unique properties, but it doesn't answer everything.
Yeah, it's really a step in the right direction. So as I mentioned, the comparison between e-commerce, online, like a website analytics, and the analytics inside a store, there is a world of difference. There is like a lot of difference. This is just a step in starting to capture more and more information in a physical store. And that is always a benefit. Even if you go from 10% to 20%, you've doubled the amount of information that you have. So it's significant. It is, even though it might be small percentage-wise, it is significant. It can translate to a lot of additional sales, for example. And then, so one of the things that retailers can do, depending on the size, of course, if you're a smaller company, you really don't want to build your own software. But if you get, if you have like development information or services, and you can actually build a app, you can build your own software that connects directly with the beacons that you have in your store. Apple provides that level of the architecture so that you can actually develop your own app.
A software development kit.
Yeah. So they have all of that, and that's really what everybody else uses. So,
I just have a couple more other quick questions regarding this.
Sure.
And then I'd love to hear if there are any other resources. Do you think that this type of technology is suitable for something like maybe a collar on a cat to let you know where you can find the lost cat, the lost pet? Or what about things like buses and telling you about the next stop? What are some things that can be used when it comes to iBeacon?
Yeah, so definitely it is applicable to a lot of different industries and applications. So pets tracking, children tracking is definitely one. The only thing is that the distance is a limitation because of the BLE. So unless the cat goes within the certain radius of a beacon, then it is you're not going to be able to get the information that you want. The buses, again, that's different. So you can buses, airlines, a lot of them are using this actually to help customers as they're checking in. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of different applications, and we're just really just scratching on the surface of what can be done. This all falls under the IoT, or Internet of Things umbrella, is where you have individual intelligent devices around us that help coordinate and manage different things for us.
I see. So I take it there are a lot of other resources we will eventually put on our website for others to click into and learn about.
Yeah, we do. We're gonna have in the show notes. We're gonna have links to different options, and we'll probably have other episodes talking more in depth about like maybe some of the providers of this technology as well, and some examples.
I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah.
I love today's topic. Thank you so much for covering it. It really helps give us a better perspective as to what they can do and what they can't, and how valuable they are to us. It's amazing how this has evolved so quickly.
Yep. Thank you very much. Great questions, and we'd love to hear from the audience if they have any questions or comments, and hope to talk to you next time. Take care. Bye.